Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, happy to have him back again. And before I introduce him, we just saw the NBA Finals a few days ago end. We saw Steph Curry and all these guys crying because the team had come through great adversarial period of injuries, torn muscles, all of that. So if that's the kind of thing, if you know someone that's ever torn a rotator or muscle or meniscus or cartilage, or a favorite athlete or someone or even you, by the way, then you're going to love this because this is what Ortho Regenerative is specialized in. They've built a proprietary platform. It's really tech driven, by the way, but it's really complicated. But essentially, it dramatically improves the success rate of orthopedic and sports medicine surgeries. And the failure rates are rotator cuffs can be anywhere from 20 and 90%, meniscus 20 to 40%, cartilage 15 to 35%. It's unbelievable. In layman's terms, what Ortho Regenerative has started to prove already is they've built this wonder delivery platform that delivers biologics. And biologics are drugs made from the biological processes to repair soft tissues in the human body. More than just lip service, because everyone can talk a big game. We always talk about on Agoracom third-party validation. Well, on February 2nd, the company entered into what's called a material transfer agreement with an undisclosed, that's pretty important, industry-leading global strategic medical company for exclusive use of their proprietary PRP system. We'll explain that in a second. The news we're talking about today is great. It's another major milestone. Ortho Regenerative initiates patients recruitment for its U.S. phase 1/2 rotator cuff tear repair clinical trial. 5 sets are fully activated already. Phil, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Well, thank you, George. Nice to be with you again.
Yeah, I always love it. And it was just a few days ago. When was it? On Thursday that the NBA Finals and Steph Curry and all these guys were crying. So even then, I was saying, look at that. It's a real big deal, to recover from all this. And that's why you guys are so relevant. Last time the news came out, when the news came out, 5 of your 10 sites had been activated. Any update on that?
Yeah, look, George, this is an ongoing process, and we've identified 10 sites overall. And when we put out the news release, we were expecting a couple of other sites to come on board, but we weren't ready to say. And as of today, we're doing our 7th site initiation visit. So 7 sites have been initiated, are recruiting patients. We've completed the contracting for 9 of the 10 sites as of today. So we're very excited. That's a difficult and long part of the process for getting a clinical trial up and running.
So 7 are activated now. You've contracted 9, so I guess you got to get those other 2 activated. Correct. And then you'll be looking for your 10th one. That's a pretty big deal, right, Phil? Because it may seem easy, but it's not easy to get sites say, yeah, we'll be a part of your trial.
Well, it's a lot of people figure that once the FDA give you their approval to move forward with a clinical trial, particularly these kinds of clinical trials, phase 1/2, these are first in human trials, right? So they're extremely important. And so for us, picking the right sites, and then the process goes, you pick the right sites, and we'll describe those in a couple of minutes here. But then the contracting has to happen. And since it's first time in human, there's nobody who has the experience. So the contracting process is quite intense with the sites, and it typically takes 6-7 months to get these contracts in place. So we're bang on time based on what's usual and customary here. And now we're really glad that these sites are all approved and already starting to recruit patients for the trial.
So is that it for because look, us non-experts in clinical trials, I mean, we hear about them all the time, but we just assume it's a trial at a clinic, but obviously it's way more than that. Are those all the steps? Can you kind of help us understand, are there any other steps that have to take place before the first patients actually get enrolled? And how long do you think it'll be before that happens?
Oh my gosh, it's well, first there's an interesting industry joke around, if you want to cure a disease, start a clinical trial, because clinical trials are extremely hard to recruit. and recruiting is the the act of getting patients to agree to participate in a trial. It's already traumatic enough for patients to have to get surgery, then to have them to commit to the process of following up under very strict conditions to follow up with a whole bunch of different things to do is really important for the industry. So we thank all of the patients who accept doing this, because it furthers science. And it would be unethical for us to pay patients other than a stipend to participate. And so these people are basically volunteers. So they're really, really awesome.
But sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, but given the high level of failure rate with the status quo before your great platform,
Yep.
would I be over assuming or overestimating perhaps the enthusiasm from both potential patients who are going to enrolling and the clinics themselves, who might say, yeah, come on, if you can help us solve this problem? Or am I overestimating the enthusiasm?
No, look, I think it's a bit of both, George. To be quite transparent, I think the clinicians know the issue, right? So they're very excited about trying something that may help these patients, and that's why we're doing the clinical trial. The preclinical work, so the animal work, was really positive, and we were able to see some tissue regeneration in a different way than just scar tissue, which is typical. So that was really exciting. And now the next step is to prove it out in humans. So the clinicians know the failure rate, so they're very excited about trying something new. But think about it from the patient's perspective. They're coming in, like I said, they're coming in to have surgery. So surgery has all of its associated risks. And then in the first in humans trial, they have to accept through consent that they're trying an experimental device. And an experimental treatment that's never been used in humans before. So again, it's a barrier, not a barrier, but it's a big
you got to
deal,
convince somebody, hey, it's never been done
Yeah,
before.
it's a
Hey,
big
George,
deal
who
for
wants to do
patients
this on your shoulder?
Yeah.
But the good thing is, it's not as if I'm taking potentially a drug that could affect more, me at the new. It's hey, George, we're going to patch up your shoulder, and we're going to try and use something to better patch it up. So I'm hoping and assuming that there's less hesitancy than in more serious.
We hope that that's the case, and now we're going to get to find out the ever nerve-wracking portion of recruiting our first patient, and then on to the 75 patients that we want to recruit for this trial is underway. But at least all of the formalities are underway, and the clinicians are at it, trying to get the patients to participate.
So is that how many patients you have to enroll? Do you have to enroll 75 patients before you can start with the
No, the way it works, good question. So the way it works is the trial is designed to study 75 patients. So there'll be what's called a 2-to-1 randomization. So 2 patients will get Ortho-R versus 1 that will get the standard of care. And believe it or not, that's also a barrier. So some patients don't want to participate in clinical trials because they want to be guaranteed to get the innovative product.
Yep.
So it's counterintuitive sometimes, but we had one patient just last week refuse because they wanted to guarantee they were getting the product. So that's the 75 patients is the number of patients for our trial. And we anticipate that we'll recruit those patients between now and sometime between the end of this year and the first quarter of next year is what we're forecasting. But that's all completely dependent on the performance of each of the sites and the number of patients. Remember, we're going through summertime here, so a lot of people will say, I'm going to postpone my surgery until school starts or something like that. So it doesn't matter. We're really excited to be in clinic and starting the trial.
But Q4, Q1 is when you expect all the sites to be fully operational and rolling?
No, we expect that the trial will be recruited, and then there's a 1-year follow-up. So the trial will last till the end of 23, beginning of 24. Again, depending on because the part of what we're studying is to see whether the similar whether we improve the re-tears that you cited at the beginning of the show here. There's a high level of re-tear and failures in these operations, and we hope that this trial will show at least beginning information on whether the repair is more successful than the standard of care.
I know you can't say much about the agreement with the undisclosed global leading industry strategic medical company, but are you able to, I'm assuming, so I'm going to ask a question, are you able to talk about how much they're watching over this process as well? Are you
Sure.
updated? They must be interested in how it's going and on all progress, right?
Absolutely, George. And the only thing I can't do is name them. That's just one of the things that. But essentially, they're excited about our trial because essentially it enables one of their technologies. So if we're able to demonstrate that the PRP chitosan combination that we've built helps people with shoulder cuff repair at first, it could potentially become a platform for any kind of soft tissue repair. Think meniscus, think cartilage, think tendinopathies, which are things like tennis elbow and things like that. So it has the potential to become a platform for all of these kinds of soft tissue repair. So attracting a partner was actually not that difficult. We were able to negotiate a really good agreement. They basically donated the device that helps create the PRP more simply, and so that's their contribution to the study. And we look forward to partnering with them throughout the study and keep them informed on the progress.
The clinics in the press release, you named off the clinics, a couple in Pennsylvania, one Arizona, one Florida, good spread around. So some of these seem to be amongst some of the top research centers. So were we going to get a chance to hear more about the clinical investigators, we get the doctors, and that are working with you?
Yeah, look, each of the sites that we named there's a whole process of news releasing these kinds of things and getting approval. So I can tell you, I think the most important part is I can tell you what were our criteria for selecting the sites. And we wanted a really good mix, as you said, of a good geographic representation, because we want people from all over the country and the big population centers to have access, easy access to the treatment, and it helps us recruit the trials. Number two, we wanted to select some sites that were world renowned for this kind of surgery, as well as the surgeons that were doing this. This is the first drug biologic combination product that is making it through the FDA for this kind of indication. So we wanted to attract people whose name is associated with this kind of surgery, which we were able to accomplish. And so now we're very, very happy with all sites wanting to participate. Usually when you select your sites, getting them to contract, you get 70%, 80%. Others you can't negotiate. We've negotiated all 10 contracts, one to finalize, but we're pretty close. So as I said, we're really excited about where this is going.
So we should take that as a pretty good sign, right? That you've got all 10 contracted and 10 high quality. You're not talking about George's, Ortho Center in the middle of, I won't say in the middle of nowhere, right?
No,
So, sure. Come on in.
And
these are highly reputable, great clinics and great doctors.
Yeah, look, indeed. And if people are interested, clinicaltrials.gov is the website where people could get much more in-depth information if they're interested on being patients. There, each of the sites will be named, the surgeons will be named, the protocol, what the inclusion criteria are, all of that stuff. It's clinicaltrials.gov. It's the FDA-run website that masters all the clinical trials, and we're up and running and recruiting at that trial. So anybody who hears this, who has a friend or relative, it is fun, and it's what really attracted me to this business, because everybody knows somebody who's had some kind of a soft tissue injury. I've had my meniscus repaired in my knee, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this all works out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, my daughter just tore her ACL
Ouch.
at soccer. So yeah, we kind of all been there. I'm gonna ask you one last. I want to ask you one more on this before I go into a $500,000 grant you got on a different platform, because I think that's amazing. Again, third party validation. But to summarize this part of the interview, overall, how happy are you with this? If you combine the speed and the quality of the clinic trial sites and how fast you're activating them and all that, the whole package, how happy are you with the progress?
Well, look, I think our challenge for our shareholders is always to do this in the optimal way. And I think that I guess we're 6.5 months since we got our IND from FDA, so we're bang on in the middle of what it usually takes to get these sites on board. I think we're just a little ahead of the game in terms of getting the sites to all get the contracting and budgeting. And now again, the most nerve-wracking part is actually getting patients to agree to participate and for us to recruit the trial by the end of the year. That's going to be my next challenge, is to make sure our team is well organized to help the sites move forward. And by the way, there are very strict rules from FDA on the role of a sponsor. So we use soft diplomacy by building relationships with the investigators, but really now it's all up to them to recruit their patients. I think I've shared before in previous interviews, George, that what's kind of comforting here is each surgeon has about 7-8 weeks of surgeries already scheduled. So it's a question of looking at those surgeries and seeing which patients may qualify, rather than having to advertise and invite people in here that are unknown to the patients. To the surgeons. So that's a comforting part of this process.
Yeah, and I'm going to add on one little piece of anecdotal info here. It's amazing. Since I started working with Ortho, and you always know someone's injured, but then I pay a little more attention. So I know 3 people now who have frozen shoulder, which means they can't. And I say, so what are you going to do about that? Well, I'm probably not going to do surgery because they say it's 50-50 and I don't want to go through all that. So I'm just going to live with this.
Yeah.
Right. And when I tell them that, hey, there's a company out there, Ortho Regenerative, and they're addressing this, it's amazing how their enthusiasm jumps. But because up until now, the status quo is 50-50.
Yep.
And they're two older guys, one's a girl. And they just say, I'd rather just live with this rather than go through 50-50.
Yeah, look,
we're on the cusp of something great.
I share the same thing. My wife had tears in both her shoulders. She had one repaired, and basically it was it didn't go well, and she decided not to do the other because of the pain of recovery. So we're a case in point.
Last point, and because again, the small cap world, there are a lot of talkers out there, a lot of talkers. George's Widgetcom company is going to say they got the best widgets in the world, and I always say, well, who else can validate that? Well, on May 26th, you put out an announcement that you received a $500,000 grant. Now that's on your meniscus repair side.
Yep.
We were just talking about rotator cuff. Talk a little bit about who that grant came from and what that continues to say about Ortho Regenerative and how seriously everyone is taking your potential breakthrough.
Well, the grant came from an organization called Excelis, and Excelis is it works with the Quebec government to invest in Quebec companies that have promising technologies, and like everyone else, they invest in stuff that they hope and recognize has high potential. So the criteria, think of the criteria for obtaining these grants as the same as an investor would due diligence on a company. They diligence our IP, they diligence our approach, they diligence the ability to get through regulatory filings, which we did for FDA. And when you do these kind of clinical trials, they are specific. So shoulder rotator cuff, it was our first platform. Now we're going to do the meniscus in the knee. About an equal number of those injuries in the U.S. 700,000 of these surgeries all the time.
Billion-dollar market.
And it's actually, the other thing that's really exciting for me is there's this platform, and our intellectual property is for the delivery system, essentially. PRP is the first of these delivery system. I'm sorry, is the first biologic that this delivery system is bringing to the ortho world. But when you put a different hat on, you say, wow, if we've got a biopolymer that that's patented till 2035, what other things could we do in the body? Could we do wound repair? Could we do a whole bunch of other different things? Surgical repair for some general surgery applications. So that's while the clinical trial is going to go on, we're 100% focused on recruiting that, but that's now in the capable hands of our sites. So now my job is to try and find other ways to add value to our shareholders by expanding the applications that are possible with our technology.
Yeah, what's so exciting is this isn't a one-trick pony.
No.
Which both de-risks, because it's not just in case you don't succeed as much as you expected to in one place. You've got other options, but more importantly, when you do succeed, then you can go into other channels as well and do just well. Axcelis is the group, $500,000. I assume, Phil, you went through Ortho went through a very rigorous review. Anything you can tell us about how they felt obviously when someone gives you a check, that tells you everything, but are you able to add a little more flavor onto that, perhaps, about how excited they were about what they saw?
Yeah, thanks for the question, George. I think this is also, I've got to commend our partners at Polytechnique in Montreal. They are essentially my science team. We've been working together for 7 years on this technology. And it's really a credit to their science and it's essentially the platform that we bought from them. So we've acquired that platform, and we're going to pay them a royalty for it. But functionally today, they're a very, very cost-effective group, and we partnered together. So it's really the expertise of the Polytechnique and the reputation that they have in performing this kind of science, combined with the commercial engine that Ortho can provide. That Axcelis is looking for. They're looking for who is it credible science? One, check, credible science, and two, is there an engine behind it? And investors are the engine, and intellectual property is the engine. And we had all of those boxes ticked. And we're applying to Axcelis for another program, a tendinopathy program coming up, and we're we were confident that eventually, sometime in December in the fall, that we'll get another grant for the tennis elbow applications. So it's and
that's really non-dilutive financing.
That's exactly so what I was going to say. It's great for shareholders.
The balance sheet, right to the bank account, without having to cause a dilution, which that's just music to the ears of all small cap investors.
Indeed, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's one of the reasons we do it.
Well, Phil, congratulations on a couple more major milestones. One with the clinics, the contracting, the activations, and finding out here that you've gone from 5 to 7 just since you put out the press release, and the $500,000 from Axcelis, and now knowing that you're gonna be applying for even more out of Axcelis. It sounds like
it's one of our strategies.
Great, you can't ask for anything better.
Yeah, well, thank you, George. It's certainly one of our strategies to try and bring non-dilutive funding to the organization. And the last thing I'll leave you on is, look, when I started talking about the different potential applications, the partnership that we have in the ortho world is one, but think of the world where we could actually generate several partnerships for different kinds of application of our platform. So it's one way of accelerating our development program and bringing more value to our shareholders. So I'll next time I come on board, I should have more to tell you on that front. That's a really exciting part of our development.
Well, I just love the cadence and the pace with what with the developments you're announcing. You're not just putting fluff out there. I mean, so I would assume you're going to be on pretty soon again, given the pace you're on, and we're happy to have you, because this is the kind of stuff we look for in the small cap world. This is what gets me up in the morning. I know this is what gets small cap investors up in the morning. Are they going to discover that next amazing big global company that right in front of them? And Ortho, I'm not telling the world it is. That remains to be seen but up to now, everything's going great, Phil.
Look, it's all about the building blocks. It's all about building a solid foundation for growth, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thanks, Phil. Can't wait to have you back, my friend. But congratulations to you and the team in the meantime.
All right. Thank you much, George. All the best to you.
To everybody at home, you've been watching or been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Philippe Deschamps, he's a CEO at Ortho Regenerative Technologies, trades in Canada under ORTH. For our friends in the US, ORTIF. Guys, if you understand, we all do, this muscle tear, I'll just kind of summarize like that, this muscle tear market problem and how it needs to be addressed, then you're finding the company that's potentially going to be addressing that. Do your due diligence by starting at Agoracom. Get the company's profile page, because we know this isn't easy science. I didn't understand it until I started taking a look at it, but now you will. Start there, and then when you got that base knowledge, go right over to the Ortho Regenerative website and do your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.